What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the vlog. Today we're going to be working on the Bronco, which I know this has been like the focus recently here on the channel, but just don't worry, we have Mustang stuff on the way. Today we're working on the Bronco suspension. So we're going to be doing a Icon Vehicle Dynamics, or Icon as everyone calls it. We're going to be doing their 3-inch spacer lift, and we're also going to be doing their upper control arms. We're doing the tubular ones. They have the polyurethane bushing, so it should help keep everything quiet. Also has the Delta joint, which I'll show here in a second. That's going to give us more articulation down and more compression up, so bigger range of motion. We're also going to do the 3-inch lift so we can end up fitting our 37s that'll be going on here. So yeah, this thing is already pretty tall, but it's going to be even taller by the time we're done. And of course, we're here at Fitted Racing, which you guys know we've been a partner with them for super long time. My buddy John is actually the owner of the shop. So here we're going to be doing all of the suspension. He's got a lift. He did my front splitter. He's done my bags with me. So like, this is my suspension guru that I go to. So if you guys are ever in Sacramento needing any aero or needing any suspension or installs, John's the guy to go to. Right here you can see what we're working with. These are the tubular upper control arms, and there is that Delta joint. These things are very beefy, and the quality of the welds is super on point. Like, this all looks really good. Obviously we don't have the bushings in there yet, but you can see it's nice thick steel. And the big thing about this is that this Delta joint actually has a 1-year warranty on it, but the actual control arm itself is a lifetime unlimited mile warranty, which is really cool. Same thing with the spacer lift. There's not very many moving parts here, nothing to really wear out. It's just a puck style lift, which is one of the simplest styles. My Bronco is already equipped with the Bilstein shocks, which you guys can see right there, with even, I think those are what's called reservoirs. Those are high-end shocks. A lot of people are already in love with those, and I actually really like how it drives and everything about it, as far as like how it has no boatiness and it drives really smooth but still can go off-road. So I really like that about it, and I want to maintain that. Everywhere I've read has said basically if you do this spacer lift with the upper control arm, you will maintain ride quality to the factory level while gaining height and articulation. So that's why we went with this. Of course, a full coilover setup might be a better option for you. It's definitely the more expensive option. Just kind of depends on what you're wanting to do. Maybe I'll make a video in the future about different types of lifts, but this is, after my research, what I decided to go with based off of my uses. So the style for this video is a little bit different. One, I have a mic like underneath my shirt. So if you guys are hearing some scratchy audio, that's me figuring out audio and trying to make it a higher quality for you guys. But two, this time, because I've never done this before in this style of lift, I wanted to do one side. So that's why I'm all dirty. That's why I have a headlamp on. And also I have the link to this headlamp down in the description below. They sent this out, and honestly, it's really helpful. So that's just my promotion right there, is I did get sent this headlamp. But it's been awesome, and it does like this full beam, so that way it's not just a spotlight. It like lights up everything. So to me, it's been super worth it, and I've been able to use it during this install, and it's helped a ton, especially under the wheel well where it gets dark. Back on topic though, we just finished up the driver's side, and that one, the only difference on that side versus what I'm about to show you is you have to mark the steering rack, or like the steering connection, and then make sure that you put it back. So that's really it. Other than that, it's all pretty much the same stuff. And I'm about to show you guys step by step how to do the passenger from what we've learned on the driver's side. Obviously, if you're doing this at home, you'll have to jack it up, put it on jack stands, preferably probably all four, just like this, where it's all floating. You're gonna take off your wheel, simple there. That's pretty much every install ever. Now, the biggest thing is you're going to remove the sway bar bracket connection, the sway bar end link, which we've already done here. We just had to do it on both sides so it's not under pressure. Another caveat to this install is because I'm doing a lift with upper control arms, which I recommend if you're gonna do it at the same time as well while you're in there. So with that, this is the upper control arm we're gonna be replacing. The new one gives us more articulation angle, which actually allows us to droop a little bit more and also go up higher, which is nice. You will have to remove your fenders, your fender liner as well. This just helps so that way you can get this bolt out back here. You could probably get away with it, but it just opens up so much. These come off super easily. They're actually just like these half turns or like quarter turns, and then you just pull it off once they're all turned. And then as far as the fender liner goes, very simple as well. It's got these Phillips screws and then the classic like pull pins or whatever. So once you've taken all that out, you're gonna have a ton of room in here. It's really not that hard. It was a lot of learning in the first one, and I'm about to show you guys how I did everything, so that way it speeds it up for you guys. So here's where we're currently at, which is I have the shock out, and you can see how everything is still connected or disconnected. You can see those cam bolts are out right there, but other than that, the shock is out. Of course, we have the sway bar also moved out of the way. you will have to move that bracket out of the way as well. So I'll link to the video like that shows how to do this that I'm referencing. But this is these are kind of like the tips that I'm finding after watching that video. A lot of people say, oh, you got to take out the axle nut and drop this whole thing. Not really the way I'm doing my install. First step is to do the lift setup, and then the part that's coming next is going to be the upper control arm. So I'm kind of splitting this into two separate installs. But I want to show you guys, I do have the shock all pulled apart. These are the factory Bilsteins from the Sasquatch. I did add the lower part of the lift. So this is one part of the spacer. There's another part on top, which I'll show you guys in a sec. Over here we have the top mount, which this is the other part of the lift, which you guys can see here. So it's a space below and the space above. But see how there's still some thread, or actually the stud's still showing? What we'll have to do is cut down that thread. So that is something you will need a power tool for. Also, another hard part of this is knocking out the studs on the bottom of the shock. You will have to remove the factory studs right here that are the bottom shock mount that go into the lower control arm. That was kind of a pain in the butt, so make sure you have like a vice grip or the tools in place that you can knock this out. But once you do, should be easy to go from there, because you will have all new hardware. So now we're getting some progress on this thing and we're knocking it out. So let me show you what we've done so far. What I did is installed it very loosely, so I need to remember to come back and tighten all these down to the factory torque specs. But I've also started on the upper control arm with the help of John. As you can see there, I just broke it loose with my thumb after using the pickle fork. This will ruin this boot. There's other ways to do this. There's better tools out there, but because I'm not reusing this, I really don't care. And I can always just sell the upper control arm just as it is if somebody wrecks theirs or just wants the extra. And also I took off this right here. So we're gonna start working on the upper control arm now, which now is going to break free. Once I wiggle this out of the way, it'll pop itself up, and then we'll pull out the long bolt here. The big thing is you do not need to deal with anything as far as steering linkages or anything like that, because we are on the passenger side. But you can see once you've removed all of that fender liner, you have so much room. The other thing to note is I am going to be going 37s, but I do have a factory Sasquatch, which means I do not have any crash bars here. Usually there's a bar across right here or a bar across right here. Well, that doesn't exist on mine because it's factory not included. And yeah, so that's kind of what you get along with the Bilsteins and all that. So it's kind of set up already to go to 37s once you do this lift. And I'm excited to see what this thing looks like on the ground. And ultimately, the upper control arms just look so good. Let me show you on a sneak peek on the other side. This is the finished product on the driver's side, which we've already done. We just have to retorque some stuff. But yeah, this looks awesome. It's got the delta joint, which you can see the massive angle. We also have the dust cap on there. And yeah, we have the lift. And you can see how there's a little bit on the bottom and then there's a little bit actually on the top as well. So it's like a dual-sided lift. This helps so that way you're not overextending the factory shock, yet you're still getting the ride height increase and you're still getting all that droop. Like this is massive droop if you look to actually where the fender is versus down here. This is going to improve the performance quite a bit, especially the angles that you can drop and I guess compress, as well as adding that ride height that we need for bigger tires. Quick update, it's getting kind of late now, but we have the front completely done. I would say that is the hardest part. The rear is almost just like hilariously easy once you've done the front, because all you really have to do is take off your fender, take off your fender liner, which that has so many screws. I will say Ford put so many screws into this like fender liner. I would never doubt that this fender liner is ever gonna go anywhere. There's probably like 15 or 20 in the front. There's probably about 12 or 15 in the back. So never worry about your fender liners coming out. All you have to do for the rear are the 3 15 mils on top and then the single bolt on the bottom. And then this whole assembly comes out and you add the spacer to the top of it because I have the Sasquatch package. Something to note is if you do not have the Sasquatch package, you will have to compress the spring, add on the spacer, things like that on the underside of the mount. But for me, I just get to put it on top. Super fast. I mean, it's literally 3 screws, put it back on top, put it back in there, and we're good to go. So if you're doing this and you already have upper control arms done, well, then this will be super fast. If you're doing the upper control arms at the same time, I would budget for probably 6 to 7 hours. It says 3 to 4, I would say 6 to 7, especially if you're doing this on the ground and using hand tools. It's even longer because I do have some power tools. John has some power tools. So that really speeds up the process. I should have shown more of this in the front side, but we're just gonna knock this out. You don't want to loosen these all the way or else you'll drop the rear, I guess, axle. So you just want to kind of leave these partially on the threads so that way you don't get too crazy and it drops out. but this is the easiest side. Like I wish the front was this easy, but I get why it's not. There's a reason for the sandwiching of the shocks, which is to not overextend your shocks, the stock Bilsteins. And the stock Bilsteins, there's a reason why I wanted to keep those for now too, because everyone loves those. Like they say that is a great setup to start with. Wow, we really do not have very much room in here. Yeah. All right. See, this is what you have to learn and do. So you only have about 5 inches of swinging here, so it's not very easy. But what I was saying is the stock Bilsteins on this, there's a reason why I went with that package, and there's a reason why I went with this lift, which I wanted to talk about, which was Icon did a lot of research and development and why it took so long for them to come out with this style. A lot of times the companies will just put the spacer up on top. So it's just a big puck lift, which of course is fast to do, but it doesn't necessarily take into account the overextension of the stock shock. So that is the reason why I went with this stock setup, but still doing a 3-inch lift. And the next step from here for me would be, like let's say I'm not happy with this performance, would be a full coilover. Now that is for Kings, Fox, Radflow, anything like that. That is in the $4,000 to $5,000 range. So for this being in the $400 range, this was a great place to start. All right, so now we're at the bench where we have the rear shock out. And this one's very simple. You're just gonna have to pull out the little dowel, like this pin that's in the middle. You kind of want to just manhandle that and it should come right out just like that. And then this is what I mean by the spacer lift. A lot of cheaper ones will just have this spacer that goes on top. We get away with that in the rear because the Sasquatch is already sitting taller. A lot of other ones put thick ones in the front, and that's what I'm talking about with the overextension of the suspension. Overextension of the suspension. Wow, we're in like science class. But with the front, if you guys saw that, it's a sandwich. So they have a piece here and a piece on top, and that's supposed to help with that. So with this, all you got to do is reinstall with the factory hardware, install the spacer on it just like this, knock it down to OEM, I think it's 35 foot-pounds, and we're going to do that really quick. And then from there, it's very simple. All you got to do is flip this 180 degrees. So if you look, there's a stud right here down to the reservoir. All you're going to do is put this hole with that reservoir. So that's how you're lining it up, because this is how this would go in with the reservoir, and then you're going to put this hole there in with the reservoir. So pretty simple. Here it is with the wheels on, but it's not actually on its own weight. So this is at full droop, and this is like all of that clearance that you have. So you can see if you're gonna stick with the stock Sasquatch 35s, you have tons of room. If you're gonna be going off-road and having it go rock crawling or whatever, you can see tons of freaking space. It also is inset a little bit more. My new wheels and tires are gonna be sticking out a little bit for that aggressive look, but we'll see how it has for fitment. But yeah, this is what it looks like currently without any weight. Dude, it didn't go down much at all. Thing is huge. And now obviously it's gonna settle, you guys, but the thing is huge. And this is even with the tires. So it's gonna be even taller once we have the tires on this thing. Holy crap. Dude, that's tall. Now everyone I've read reviews on said this drives basically like stock. It just maintains your ride quality. Keep in mind, you do have to get an alignment like immediately. So I actually have an alignment appointment tomorrow morning. I'm gonna drop it off, get it all figured out. But we got the alignment close enough. There are some other things too, like the alignment bolts, the cam bolts. Make sure that you retorque those when it's on the ground under its own weight. So we're gonna do that really quick. And there's a few other things. Just make sure, the biggest thing is after 100 miles or so, just get up under there and make sure everything's nice and tight because you do not want your suspension to fall off, especially if you intend to go off-road, go camping, things like that. You might be in a remote area. You don't want to be left stranded. Alrighty, you guys. Wait, let me take the gloves off. So this is Jacob from the future from the current video that you're watching. I'm currently filming another video and I forgot to do an outro for the video that you are watching, which is the lift. So right now I'm mounting my new wheels and tires, which I'm not going to show you guys yet, but just know they are coming. It's going to be the next video that's coming out. But I wanted to give you guys an update on the lift now that I've had it for about 2 weeks now and actually have driven up to Lake Tahoe, done some stuff with it, and give you guys my honest impression. The real honest truth here is that I don't feel any different besides the stock. So if you like what your Bilsteins are doing, but you just want to have a little bit of extra ride height, this is the lift for you. The upper control arms, after the alignment and everything, now the car is driving straight, no problems there. Everything was perfectly aligned within spec. They gave me my printout. They said there was no issues. So everything's in spec. We're not going to be wearing through tires. There's no extra toe or caster camber issues, right? So that's all good to go. So the parts that we got from Icon, like I said, the tubular upper control arms and the spacer lift, front and rear, there's really no difference in stock. Although I haven't really tested and seen too much of the droop difference, but apparently that's a lot better with that delta joint. So I'm pretty excited to actually see that, but I can't honestly say that I've used it yet, just because I haven't gone like rock crawling or anything like that to see the extension and compression. So I just want to give you guys a quick update on that before I wrapped up the video, because I forgot to film the actual outro for this. So this is going to count as the outro. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then please comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.